Why, hello. Disappointed that your candidate hasn't been declared the president yet? Well, it could be worse. You see, it turns out that writing candidacy for me and Samuel was an utter failure. The good news, however, is that Jesus is still on the throne. Jesus is still the king. If you want to be reminded of that in a very precise fashion, consider Samuel's update from Tuesday, and where he talks about the fact that we are citizens of a different kingdom, and Jesus, we dwell, as it were, in another world. And so no matter what happens during this election, I mean, honestly, I'm disappointed. I assume you're disappointed, no matter who you are. I'm just disappointed that we can't count votes somehow in a lot of states. Either way, what's interesting is that this week's sermon is not completely appropriate to the election, but it takes place, the context, it's the story of Naaman, who is a Gentile, a pagan general, and it's in the book of 2 Kings, chapter 5, in the middle of what is unarguably the downfall of Israel. Like you had David, who was this perfect king, and then everything sort of went downhill from there until they ended up in Babylonian exile. And so in the middle of all this mayhem, we're reminded of what God's mission was. We're reminded of what God intended when he told Abraham, in you, all the families of the earth will be blessed. And so to that extent, as we look around and depending on who you are, it determines what level of mayhem you feel in the United States right now. But what we'll consider during the sermon this week is that even in the midst of mayhem, perhaps especially in the midst of mayhem, we still have a mission, and that God still has a mission, and that his intention is to win people from every tribe, tongue, and nation, and people from the lowest social strata to the highest social strata. So I'd encourage you to show up this week in public worship, because we are meeting in public, or to tune in online. So here's what's going to happen this week. This week, I am going to record the sermon as I normally do, and it will show on Sunday when it normally shows at 10 a.m. It will premiere. So if you are unable to go out in public, either because you're immune compromised or you're just afraid, whatever it is, nothing is going to change for you. If you are willing and able to come out, we will be meeting in public this coming Sunday at 10 a.m. and we will be observing all of the government rules, right? Social distancing, masks, hand sanitizer. People on stage will be wearing masks. I won't be wearing a mask when I preach because I am exempt. But the rest of the time, I actually will. So with that said, we encourage you to come and to come. We won't be doing check-in this week, but we do encourage you to come a little bit early. And if you remember last week, I told you we will be offering childcare, but if you want childcare, you do need to RSVP for childcare. And you can RSVP either at samuel@newhopekent.org or debbie@newhopekent.org, and they will set you up with that. So with all of that said, keep your chin up. At the end of the day, as I said in last week's sermon, 10 years from now, we're going to look back and say, wow, God was faithful in the middle of the pandemic. God was faithful in the middle of all this election mayhem. And if 10 years we're going to say that God is faithful, what that means is he's being faithful right now. We just don't always see it. So think about that. I look forward to seeing you this weekend, either virtually or in person. Have a good week.